See you guys.
In a way, the most surprising thing that I experienced traveling the world is that we're all the same. There's so much connection and sometimes it gets lost because we have so many different ways of expressing them. But once we understand that on basic human needs, we're so much the same, I think it becomes easier to connect and to take care of each other.
What never stops fascinating me is seeing how what's considered to be professional in one culture is seen as unprofessional in another. I had this example a little while ago. I was doing some work in India, and this Indian guy said to me, you know, Erin, in my culture, if we have a discussion on the telephone and we make some decisions verbally, that would really be enough for me. And then if you get off of the phone and you put into writing everything that we've decided and you send that recap to me, that would be a signal to me that you don't trust me. It's an interesting example because in my culture, of course, if you send me a written recap, it's not a signal of a lack of trust, it's a signal of professionalism. Understanding these aspects can help us be so much more effective when we're working around the world.
I had a situation where I was working with a team, and at the beginning, I had just French and British people on the team. And I said to one of the British guys, how's it going? And he said to me, well, Erin, you know what it's like to work with French people, right? They're very chaotic, they're very disorganized, and they're always late, right? A little bit later, a group from India joined the same team. And after they'd been working together, I said to one of the Indians, how's it going? And she said to me, well, Erin, you know what it's like to work with French people, right? They're very rigid. They're very inadaptable. They're so focused on the punctuality of things that they're not able to be flexible as things change around them, right? Why these opposite perceptions of what the same culture is like? Well, because on my time orientation scale, the scheduling scale, we can see that France falls somewhere between the UK and India, which then leads to these opposite perceptions.
The first thing I learned was the power of our senses. So we conducted multiple studies showing that the power of our senses is much more impactful than what we think. In the end of the day, you can sell products in two different ways. You can either sell it because I desperately need it, or else you can activate a need and then I desperately need it. Now, in 2003, we conducted the largest neuroscience study on religion and branding. We used fMRI, and what we learned was that there is a parallel between brands, powerful brands, and a religion. In fact, all the same elements seems to be the underwriting pillars making brands become powerful. So, what was the essence out of this? Well, the essence was that you don't, in the end of the day, buy a product, you buy a feeling. Even at a subconscious level, we quite often are not aware of what goes on. And that comes back to the philosophy of that 85% of what we do every day is subconscious, and that's really where brands are born and raised. What we learned was this. This is like an iceberg, right? And what we see on the top of the iceberg is tangible. You can measure it, right? You can touch it. You can relate to it, true? But if you go under the surface, that's where you have the intangible stuff. That's all the stuff we really can't relate to. What we know today is that 85% of everything we do every day is non-conscious. That's where brands are built. This is where they're born and where they're maintained.
I always want to make a distinction between optimism on the one hand and hope on the other hand. Optimism makes you lazy. You know, optimism is this feeling that things will turn out to be all right. You know, don't worry, be happy. You can just relax and enjoy the ride. That's not what history is like. History does give us ground for hope, though. Hope is the recognition that things can be different. That there's nothing inevitable about the way we've structured our society and economy right now. It can all radically change. And hope, most importantly, it impels you to act. It impels you to get out of bed in the morning and do something. So that's why I'm very much in favor of hope and not so much of optimism.
If you live in a country like Finland or the Netherlands, where I'm from, if you just earn a median wage, you're already part of the richest 3% in the world. And I assume most of you earn above a median wage, right? So you're probably part of the richest 2%, the richest 1%. I think that's not something to feel necessarily guilty about. It's pretty awesome, right? it also gives you an extraordinary responsibility, I'd say, to make a difference. There's no period in history where you could have been born where things are so, how do you say it, like plastic, where you can really make a substantial change if you have the right kind of moral ambition. And I think that's a reason for excitement as well.
I think the message is fairly simple, that we should remember that evil doesn't go away. It could sleep for a while, but it always, resurrects when we lose our vigilance. And now we are facing the horrors that Europe has not seen since World War II. And also, it's a lesson for the future. The lesson actually from the past that we forgot, that you cannot negotiate with evil. You cannot negotiate with cancer. You cannot do politics with cancer. The best thing you can do is to cut it off before it kills you.
If people who are smart and well-intentioned don't band together to learn and study and practice influence, we're leaving the world in the hands of the power-hungry people who do.